Hi everyone, this is Kim from Kimberbell Designs, and I'm excited to share with you Tuesday tips with Lori, but it's with Kim today. Lori is actually at the happiest place on earth today, and you know, that sounds pretty good to me right now, doesn't it? So Lori, hope you're having fun. We're still here working hard and happy to help you out this week. So, while we're waiting for people to get on, tell us where you're from. I'd love to hear, who you are, where you're from. Just tell us a city and state or country. We love to hear from our viewers and find out, where are you guys listening from? We'd love to hear it. So today, for the Tuesday tips, I was thinking, okay, what could we share with you that would be really fun to do, whether you're a sewer or an embroiderer? And that is the tip on working with Minky. I know Minky can be really scary to people, and they think, oh, I don't know, that is a fabric that stretches a lot, and it absolutely does. But there are some tips and techniques for working with Minky. And then I also wanted to share with you how I do a Minky binding. So if you're wondering, okay, what is Minky? Let me share with you. Have you seen this soft, fluffy stuff? I love it. It's got the little polka dots. They have some that's just like in swirls. They have some that's just solid and all, doesn't have the bumps. There's hundreds of different types of Minky. You might know it as cuddle, dreamy. There's a lot of different names for it, but whatever its name is, it's super soft and cuddly and makes a great backing for large blankets, or it makes a really sweet little snuggly for your babies. So today I thought I'd share with you this little, we call it a snuggly, a lovely, a lovey, yeah, a lovely lovey. We've done, let's see, what else do people, if your child had one of these little blankie, I guess that would be another one. Yeah. That's just so soft and cuddly, and they want to take it everywhere they go. That could be a good thing or a bad thing, right? You might have another name for it, but at any rate, it is just an 18 by 18 inch square of fabric. I put the Minky on one side with the raised dots, which I absolutely love, and then on the other side, I just used a plain flannel. And this flannel actually comes from my fabric line called Little One. So anyway, by having the flannel on one side, the Minky on the other, no batting in between, it just makes it really lovable and you're able to cuddle with it. So this is how you would do a little lovey, but of course you could do the same technique on any size of quilt. Okay, and then don't you love this binding on here? It's not difficult at all, and it's a lot of fun. So it is with what they call a rose cuddle Minky, and I guess it gets its name because, here, if you see this strip here, it looks like little roses in there. And that's what I love to use when I do a Minky binding, and I'll show you why that's so easy. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started over here. I'm just gonna show you, real quick, I guess I should show you the design. We use Somebody Loves Me, and this is actually on the fabric as well that you see here on the back. Somebody Loves Me with a little bunny. But this comes from one of two places. You can either get the embroidery version here, and it's got a bunch of different appliques like Little Squirt and I Love You, Slow and Steady Little One with a little turtle. It's one of my favorites, but the bunny is on there. Or if you sew and you don't machine embroider, you might be interested in the Simple 7, which also includes those designs that you see right there if you want to sew your appliques. Okay, so one of those two products. Now, the thing with Minky is you want to be careful because it shifts so much that you have it stabilized really well. So I actually have a little tip for you. This is one of those kitchen shelf liners that you may have in your kitchen right now. And it's like this rubbery feel. I'm sure there's a specific name for it. I just call it the kitchen liner. But I actually like placing a piece of that on my desk because look what happens when I try to hoop a project. It doesn't slip. It kind of has that grip. Whereas if I didn't have it, let me show you real quick, and I try to hoop a project, we might have some slip going on. See that? So that's just a little tip. It kind of grips your hoop while you're hooping. So with Minky, you're going to want to use a cutaway. I just used a medium cutaway on the back, and then I hooped this Minky at the corner. Again, I started for this project at 18 by 18 inches, and then I just centered this with the corner here, and you can see you've got your vertical lines here and your horizontal lines across. The dots also actually help with that centering for sure. And then I'm ready to take it to my embroidery machine. So once I've done that, I've got one that's stepped out a little bit over here. I started embroidering the bunny. So what happens is you actually do your placement line first, and then you're going to place your fabric down, and then you do what we call a tack down line around the outside edge. Once that's done, here, I've already cut some of it for us. Then you just take your embroidery scissors. I really like a curved pair like this, and just cut around it. Okay, so now I've got my bunny. But the real key to making this look good on Minky is to use what we call, and I have it here somewhere, I think, a water-soluble stabilizer. Do we have that anywhere? Sorry, we need a water-soluble stabilizer, and a lot of times you'll find it as a water-soluble topping, they might call it. It's that plasticky film type stuff, and now that's not the stuff we want. We want the one that looks like plastic. It should be just down there. So anyway, you want to place that that stabilizer on top, because that's going to help keep your stitches on top of the Minky and not sink in, because Minky, it's got quite the loft, right? But if we have that water soluble stabilizer or topping on top of the design, when we stitch it out around the edges of the bunny, or when we stitch the words, it's not going to sink into the fabric. So it looks like I don't think we have it yet. That's okay. You're going to want the water-soluble topping or stabilizer to go on top of that. Once it's stitched on there, then you just gently peel that away. Oh, here we go. Thanks, Brittany. She's my gal. Okay, this is what you're looking for. Okay, so I would just take a piece of this and cut it in a square.
Is this also called aquamesh?
Yeah, I think that is a name that another company has given it for, and I'm not familiar with that, so I don't know for certain, but I'm pretty sure that aquamesh is another brand name for it. So it's this topping here, like I said, it's like plasticky, filmy, and then we place it just on top, and now we can go ahead with the rest of our embroidery design, and those stitches are going to stay on top instead of sinking in. Okay, I'm just going to press my start and then let the machine do its magic here. Okay. All right, so while that does its thing, let's go back over here. See, this is the beauty of an embroidery machine, because I can set it and forget it. Just like a crock pot, right? So I'm going to let that stitch over there while I show you how to do this Minky binding, okay? So what I want to do is I want to cut my strips for the binding in 2-inch widths, okay? Doesn't matter the length right now, just cut your binding in 2-inch widths, okay? And then I'm going to lay it down, my 3 layers. I've got my bottom layer, which is the felt or the flannel, and then I've got my top layer, which is the Minky. So I'm going to do that here with just a scrap of fabric here. I'm going to lay it just as if I'm seeing it right here. So the right side is facing down. Pretend like this is a big blanket, okay? So the right side is facing down. Again, I did not put any batting in between because I want this to be soft, right? And cuddly. Now, if I were doing this on a larger quilt, then I would probably do batting and I would probably quilt more of it. But where this is so small, there's no need to quilt the center. Okay, now I've got my bottom. I'm just going to lay my top. Again, no batting. And I'm going to lay it facing up. And then I'm going to take my 2-inch width of this rose cuddle or rose Minky. There's probably a few different names out there. And I want to place it, actually, let's turn this over so you see the back. Okay, I'm going to place it so the right side is facing down, and I'm going to take a bunch of pins, straight pins, and I'm going boy, we cleaned up our area, and now I'm not sure where everything went. Oh, here we go. Okay, you know, maybe that's the reason why you should never clean, because then you don't know where anything is, right? So we're gonna place a bunch of pins through all 3 layers, okay? And with Minky, I feel like you can never have enough pins. I'll tell you what, you just wanna keep pinning, 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 like every inch. I guarantee you'll be happy you did, because Minky tends to shift, okay? And once I've done that, I'm gonna go all the way around, and I'm gonna sew it on my machine about 3/8 of an inch. Now, normally I would do 1/4 of an inch with any binding, but I'm gonna try the 3/8 of an inch with my cuddle, just to make sure that I get it in there just right, okay? All right, so I'm going to lift my foot here. Now you might be looking at this foot and going, whoa, that's a monster foot. Well, this is what you might call a walking foot, and your machine might look a little different with your walking foot. But that is a foot that I really recommend using when you're sewing layers together, especially several layers that have Minky, because it's going to give you an even sewing, and it's going to pull the fabric through without any problems. You're not going to have to shove it through. It's going to glide real nice. So I'm going to set this at a 3/8 of an inch here, and I'm just going to start sewing. Oh, let's turn this on. That would help. Okay. There we go. All right. Put down and start. Okay. And see how nice that just glides through. Take my pins out as I go. Okay, whoops. And I want you to notice what I'm going to do when I get to the corner. Instead of doing a mitered corner like I normally would with regular fabric, that's going to create a lot of bulk. So instead, because of the stretch, I'm just going to let it stretch at this corner. Can you see that? And then keep pinning it around. Give it a little stretch, a little tug, okay? You would want to do this before you even start sewing, but we're just gonna show you here as we go. And then you're going to lift your foot up and then continue sewing, okay? Okay, so now I've gone around the whole thing. I've turned at each corner. See, there's just a little bit of give there. And now I can turn it to the front, which was this side that I appliqued onto, okay? And I'm going to now bring this to the front. And notice I did not roll anything. I did not turn a hem over. I'm literally just bringing it to the front and pinning it, okay, to the front of that Minky. Isn't that the cutest binding? Oh, I just love it. How many of you love Minky?
We're getting a lot of hearts.
Yeah. Give me a thumbs up or a heart if you just love. I mean, honestly, I could just sit here and just rub my face up against it. I don't even have little kids anymore. My kids are all older, but I'll tell you what, when I'm a grandma, they're getting all these little loveys. That's what I'm saying. Okay. Because it is just so soft and sweet. So the next thing you want to do, you brought it to the front, right? Let's bring that in there. And then I want to actually change my machine to do a zigzag stitch. So I'm going to turn on my zigzag stitch, and I'm probably going to do it a little bit longer than normal, just so it's not too tight, okay? And then I'm going to stitch right along the edge where you brought the Minky over, the little rose cuddle. So I'm going to do that. And there we go. You see right along that edge I'm sewing. So your needle falls down right there, about right there, and then it goes over. Now you're gonna see just a little bit of the stitching, not very much, because the rose cuddle fluffs up around it. In fact, once you wash this, you're not gonna have any problems seeing it. See, I see it just a tad, but once you wash it and it's being used, you will not see that. Or alternatively, of course, you could use disappearing thread, or invisible thread, not disappearing, invisible thread on there, and you wouldn't see any kind of stitches. So anyway, that's how you do the binding on that. Again, I would not do this on a regular quilt. I would not do my edges like that on a regular quilt. I would do, the mitered corners like we normally do. But with this type of fabric, it's totally okay to just make it stretch a little bit and go around the corner. Now, let's go back over here. Sounds like our project is done, except, well, done enough for now. We still need to put our little nose and our eyes on and the saying that says somebody loves me. But what I wanted to show you was how easy this is to take off after you've stitched it. And you see how now those stitches sit on top of the Minky and they're not sunk in. And if there's any that you can't get off because it's water soluble, it will just easily come off. So that's it. Are there any questions?
Not any. No.
None? Okay, well,
Can you use that same technique when sewing? Can you sew applique on the Minky?
Yeah, absolutely. For a regular sewing machine, just go ahead and do it like you normally would with fusible web. So you'd want to use a light fusible web, like Heat and Bond Light or Steam Seam. Use those to adhere it, but I would not adhere it with a high heat. Probably a low heat would be best, just because you don't want to ruin your cute little bubbles that are sticking up in the fabric. You don't want those to go flat. So I would just go ahead and press it on a light heat setting. I may even use a pressing cloth for that, just to adhere that enough to be able to go ahead and stitch around like you normally would. And then you could hand embroider the words. It would be so sweet on there. So, any other questions? Okay, that's all for Tuesday Tips with Kim this week, and Lori will be back next week to share some more fun projects, tips, and ideas. Thanks for joining us.